Well, it's been a while since I did one of these videos. I wonder what I should talk about. Ugh. If you've been in the Smash competitive scene for quite a long time, you're probably familiar with a rather infamous Smash player named Leffen. If you're not, let me fill you in. He's a veteran Melee player who's been active for over a decade now, but has often been surrounded with controversy due to terrible takes online and just acting like an all-around jerk, and that's putting it lightly. But today, I don't want to focus on any of that since it's also messy anyway. Rather, I want to respond to one of his videos that has been in my head for quite a long time. Specifically, his video on why having a big roster of characters was not good for Ultimate. When I first watched this video, I felt it was very poorly reasoned or sometimes flat out nonsensical, but I just haven't really been able to express my opposition into words, and I also didn't feel like watching the video multiple times back then in case I would go insane. Now that I have more experience within Ultimate and an overall better understanding of the game in general, I figured I'd come back and respond to this video as someone who has greatly enjoyed Ultimate since launch and continues to do so today. I know some people may ask why exactly I'm responding to a video made in 2019, and it's because 1. Going by the recent comments and the like to dislike ratio, a significant amount of people still believe this video is valid, and 2. The arguments and criticisms in this video can still be applied to Ultimate today, even if they are heavily flawed. This doesn't mean I personally have zero issues with the game. I definitely do in some areas, but those issues either have hardly ever been big enough for me to outright hate the game, or are just overall insignificant. Compared to Leffen, however, he has been known to waste his time spouting a ridiculous amount of hatred towards the game with every single issue he has with it, big or small, especially on Twitter. Not to mention, he has gone to great lengths to purposefully present the game as the worst thing ever, while also continuing to play it, sometimes strawmanning the game's players, and even went as far to say that streaming the game was actually harder than a minimum wage job one time. And while he may not necessarily think that now, it was still a very bad but accurate display of his character and his agenda against the game. Now, I will say, it is absolutely okay to dislike Ultimate, or even outright hate it. However, if you're using this distaste for the game as an excuse to constantly fight other people online who think differently, block them for saying opposing thoughts, insulting people for their civilized rebuttals, invalidating their opinions because they made a character you dislike.
Can we get that Gamer is a Gamer Watch main? Yes. Pretty obviously too.
And or make it your goal to convince everyone on Earth that you're in the right, that's all crossing the line and it needs to stop. So, I'm going to take a look at Leffen's arguments in this video. If I don't respond to something in this video, it means I either agree with it or it's not important enough to discuss. So, let's begin.
Okay, so the whole tweet started with the Dusty Carpet, small Twitter person, saying, I think I'd quit Ultimate if I played this region. And it's just like top 8 end results. Bayo, Ness, you know what I think about Ness players and how they should drown. Banjo, Rob, Roy's fine. Snake, Diddy, Robin. Only thing missing is a Game & Watch. Right? That's how this started. And I'm like, amen, bro.
Okay, already you have made the mistake of taking a complaint on Smash Twitter seriously and agreeing with it. Quitting Ultimate if you played in this one region? First of all, these are only 8 players out of probably 50 at most at this one local tournament. There were likely a lot more characters than just these ones, including ones you may enjoy fighting. Secondly, even if these players have a consistent record in wins, they are not even likely to get top 8 every single time. What if someone else gets into top 8 and they happen to main a character you enjoy fighting? Thirdly, unless you have personally played against all of these players yourself, you don't even know how they even play their mains. Just because they main a character doesn't necessarily mean they play like everyone else who mains them. For all you know, you may actually enjoy playing these people. Yeah, I know, what a wild concept. Now let me be clear because it will be relevant in a moment. I'm not saying that because Dusty finds these matchups hard, he dislikes fighting them. He has made it clear that he doesn't enjoy the general way he has to deal with them, so he dislikes those characters. And hey, that's completely fine. But I still think it's kind of silly to say you would quit Ultimate if you fought in a certain region just because of one top 8.
So Gamer made this post. If you had to deal with a bunch of mid tiers and a few high top tiers, you'd quit. Like, I feel like this is just completely missing the point to begin with, right? The point was never oh man, I could never win a tournament. It's, dude, playing against Ness, Bayo, Banjo, Snake, Rob, like, it's not fun even if you win. That's the point.
Do keep this kind of tone in mind. Leffen will often speak in absolutes and broad generalizations such as Ness, Snake, and Bayo being boring to fight and unfun even if you do win. He even replies to someone in his chat earlier for thinking that Ness is cool in this game and insults them by saying only if they like eating crayons.
Ness is actually sick in this game? Yeah, I mean, if you like, you know, eating crayons.
PK Fire! PK... PK Thunder!
And then you do down smash by the edge. I'm so sick of edge partying, dude. So cool, bro. And yeah, Mom, I'll have 3 of those crayons. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Love you, Mom.
Needless to say, Leffen does not speak for everyone. Even if you do think these characters are unfun, you cannot guarantee you can never have fun when you do encounter them. That's completely dependent on how your opponent plays them, how you're feeling that day, and so on. For example, one time at a local a few years ago, I fought a Zelda main in friendlies. Typically, I don't enjoy fighting Zelda, especially online, but my opponent played in a rather unusual but efficient way. I lost the match, but I still said that it was surprisingly fun. My opponent then replies, quote, "I don't like playing Wi-Fi Zelda. That's boring." Likewise, I tried to apply this same mindset to my gameplay as a Min Min main, and as a result, a majority of those who played against me said they enjoyed fighting me, both when they beat me or lost to me. My point is, contrary to what Leffen will say in this video, calling a character objectively boring or unfun would be ignoring certain variables that apply to this game.
I'm just sick of the whiny. We're even complaining about playing against bad characters now because they're annoying to play against sometimes. Yeah? I mean, you nailed it, bro. Like, why even play competitively if you want to give up every time you hit a new challenge? I don't understand how he can see challenge and annoying to play against. That's the same thing. Like, you have to be a certain kind of masochist. You know, not even, you know, like the fun kind. The fun masochist. To be, like, actively annoyed to be the same thing. Like, you're not even taking pain with pleasure. It's just pain and annoyance. Like, it's like sitting in an empty room and just staring at the wall because it's, you know, boring. Because it's a challenge that it's boring.
I agree that Gimmer didn't fully understand what Dusty was saying, at least initially. And I agree that being annoying and challenging to deal with aren't necessarily the same thing. But Gimmer was trying to help after Dusty explained himself to Gimmer. He said that he understood where Dusty was coming from and that the way to get past the annoyances is practicing and labbing the matchups so they become less annoying. A conversation you happen to show in this very video and not even bother to tackle, by the way. Now, I know there are people who will say that just because you learn the matchup doesn't mean it will make it more fun, but I somewhat disagree. Speaking from personal experience, learning the matchup I at first disliked, such as Jigglypuff, didn't necessarily make it fun per se, but it has helped make it less frustrating to deal with, so I no longer really have an excuse to complain. It doesn't guarantee you will never hate a certain matchup again, but it can reduce the annoyance that comes with it. You'd think Leffen, being a pro, would understand something like that as someone who has been playing Melee for many years.
I'm pretty sure the best characters are the most annoying to fight, since they're harder to beat. Like, this is the most scrub take to me, at least. Like, I don't know, I don't know any top player that's ever said that. Like, this is, in my opinion, not wanting a challenge. They think that any matchup that's free is fun. Because, like, what, in Melee, would I enjoy, 1, playing a Fox Ditto, or 2, playing against a Bowser that can't even fight back? In RPGs, is it more fun to play against the last boss that's challenging, or is it more fun to, when you're in the max level, go back to level 1 and just, you know, stomp the first monster over and over? It makes no sense.
Okay, there are a few problems here with your argument. First of all, Gimmer is not saying he would rather not fight the higher tier characters. He is saying because the top tiers are harder to beat, they would be more annoying. How is that the same thing as not wanting a challenge? Not to mention, in the tweet responding to Dusty I showed earlier, he went on to say that he hates fighting Olimar, but he blames himself for not knowing the matchup well enough, implying he would be up for the challenge. Secondly, in response to if you would enjoy a Fox Ditto or a defenseless Bowser in Melee, you can enjoy both of them for different reasons. For the Fox Ditto, you can enjoy the difficult challenge of fighting your own character. For the Bowser matchup, assuming you play a top tier, you can freely mess around and experiment with different strings and combos, so this analogy doesn't really work here. And thirdly, your RPG analogy is even worse in this regard. To beat the final boss in, say, a turn-based RPG, you have to have near the maximum stats and tools to even beat them, which are only unlocked by leveling up in-game, limiting your skill set. You also often can only use certain moves to even deal damage to them, since they can be programmed to be resistant to certain attacks. Plus, if you maxed your stats in an RPG and go back to the beginning, you could kill the enemies in basically one hit, since you're overpowered in-game, not really allowing you to try new strategies. In a fighting game like Ultimate, you can't level up in-game and unlock new tricks or stats, so your efficiency is entirely up to you, the player. The gameplay is open enough to where you can pretty much use whatever move you want if the opponent is a cakewalk to beat. So once again, it would allow you to freely mess around and try new things. Yes, a good challenge in both games can be more fun, but just because something is easy doesn't mean it can't also be fun in its own way.
An annoying mid-tier means you can't brain dead spam your no more gameplay and actually have to adapt. They're still worse than the top tiers. It's like, that's not even true in Ultimate, that's the thing. Against many of the low tiers, what you do against the low tiers is spam gimmicks even harder because they aren't good enough to deal with it or camp them.
I have no idea how Leffen didn't realize what he just said justified Gimmer's statement here. Like it or not, spamming gimmicks more often and camping are ways of changing your strategy to have a better chance at winning, which is the literal definition of adaptation. Plus, that being the only way to adapt against the low tiers isn't necessarily true since it's entirely contextual to who you're playing as and who you're fighting. For example, if I'm playing Joker and fighting Little Mac, obviously I'm going to want to focus on camping until Arsene appears since him getting too close to me is a huge risk. But if I were fighting someone like DK, I could camp him, but that is not my only option. I can wait for him to attack and punish him with a combo just fine without Arsene, or wait for Arsene to appear and get the advantage. It completely depends on the situation.
Now, the thing is, in Ultimate, what do you do if someone's annoying? Like, if you look at this list, look at Bayo. What do you do against Bayo? What did Armada do wrong when he played against Rage and lost to Rage? Even though Armada's obviously the better player, what did he do to lose against Rage? Because he has never played Bayo before. He tried to interact. Bayo shielded, and he was like, I can punish this. No. You cannot hit Bayo shield. Up B is frame 5 out of shield and basically unpunishable on reaction. Can you edge guard Bayo? No. Can you ledge trap Bayo? No. Can you shoot projectiles against Bayo? No. Which time? Can you juggle Bayo? No. Can you do anything except space aerials in neutral? No. If you do that though, she's useless. I mean, not useless, but way worse. Is that fun counterplay and actually adapting and having fun?
I'm sorry, what game are we playing again? First of all, you can touch Bayonetta's shield, really anyone's shield, with a mechanic called grabbing, which you ought to be doing if the Bayo in question is shielding quite often anyway. You can also edgeguard and ledge trap Bayo just fine, with Inkling in Armada's case, as well as Pokemon Trainer in Leffen's case. Even if you think it's hard to do so against her, it is still possible to do so. Also, you can't shoot projectiles at her because she has Witch Time? You do realize that move is not her best defense against that, right? Sure, she can use it against them, but she cannot spam it since Bayo players need to time it right anyway, and overusing the move will make it less and less powerful. Lastly, in regards to juggling Bayo, you mained Pokemon Trainer, so you could juggle Bayo with Squirtle just fine. So no, Leffen, spacing aerials in neutral is not the only counterplay against Bayo. You're making it sound like she's one of the best characters in the game while somehow still being mid-tier, which is just not the case. And once again, you are speaking in absolutes and are not even providing any evidence to back this up.
But that's the thing, right? Like, in Ultimate, the answer to everything is just camp. Just be more patient. Against Diddy, when he has banana set up, do you approach him or do you wait for him to make a move or for the banana to disappear? You wait. Against Robin, what do? You wait until his peaky fire runs out. Against Ness, do you approach him and get back thrown at the edge, or do you wait? You wait. Against Rob, what do? You jump over the gyro 40 times, try to hit it, get hit anyway by the gyro because the hurt box is stupid, and then you hit him off stage and he. You wait, you hold shield, and then eventually he goes down with a nair and it's safe, and then he down tilts, and you wait for the next game to get released before you can do something against Rob, before there's counterplay. But it's still waiting in the end.
Wrong. Yes, camping is a viable option, but it is not the solution to everything. That is entirely dependent on who you're playing as and what situation you're in, as I demonstrated in my Joker example earlier. Also, why is being more patient a bad thing? I'm being serious here. Isn't being patient one of the most important virtues in a fighting game and is how you get better at the game? Shouldn't you know that as someone who has played Dragon Ball FighterZ, which if I recall correctly involves a lot of blocking, which requires a lot of patience? And shouldn't you know that as someone who has played Melee professionally for years and won EVO? What, do you want it so that everyone in Ultimate can just go unga bunga on each other and everything lands no matter what? Oh wait, if that were the case, you would instead be complaining about the game taking no skill because all you need to do is mash and you'd have no way to escape if you get hit. You're making it sound like that you have to wait a long time before you can even do anything to be able to have a fighting chance, and that's just not true. In the examples you provide, you only have to wait for around only a couple seconds at most for your opponents to do their thing. In the context of Rob being off stage, he's still vulnerable off stage to projectiles as well as good hitboxes, something your main Pokemon trainer has, by the way. Stop exaggerating and saying there's no other viable counterplay against these characters.
Oh, Young Link, Young Link's so cancer to play against. He's fun to play, that's what Mr. Ross says too. He likes playing Young Link, but he hates playing against Young Link. That's just a terrible game design where only one player can have fun in a two-player game.
Only one player having fun in a two-player game is terrible game design. Well then, I guess all of these games are trash. Oops, forgot one. There we go. Seriously, Leffen, what a stupid argument. Just because one person is having less fun than the other in a multiplayer game does not make the game badly designed. Again, you do not speak for everyone. I have had multiple matches where me and my opponents were both having fun equally, online and offline, and I know I am not the only one who has experienced that. Besides, what gives you out of all the people the right to declare what is and isn't fun?
And honestly, gamer, this applies to you too. I'm sorry, stop. You're not a competitor, so don't act like you're one.
Dude, he plays Smash just as much as your average competitor, and he's the one who discovered the slingshot tech and other experiments, which implies he understands the game at a fairly decent level. So who cares if he isn't a competitor? I could easily try to invalidate your opinions because you're a Melee elitist who hates other Smash games, but I'd rather not stoop to your level.
Any competitor, if competing is so fun, then do it yourself, no one likes playing against Game Watch either. No one likes camping against Bayo. No one likes playing against these guys. And if you understood the game the way I do, then you would also realize that it's
Well, one, there are way better players than you who think that the game is great, so I don't need to understand it the way you do. And two, given everything you've said so far in this video, and what you will say later on, I don't think I even want to understand it the way you do. You have proven that you have a very hateful attitude and bias towards the game several times. I would give much more credit to top or high level players who think the game is just okay, and don't regularly go on rants or insult people who think differently, even if I disagree with those players.
The thing is, I try to explain here, being good is not the same as being born to fight. Many characters in Ultimate don't let you interact in a meaningful way. Bayo, for example, despite being bad. Even Bayo mains themselves say this. You can go back and watch the VODs of Rage, the Bayo player that, got 4th, almost beat Space, beat Armada, beat a lot of good players. And he says that Bayo does not play the game when he's here live on camera himself. He says Bayo is toxic to fight, but he likes playing it.
Again, I agree that a character being good isn't the same as being boring to fight, and there are indeed characters I personally dislike fighting despite their tier placements. But just like with my Zelda example earlier, that's dependent on how somebody plays said character and other variables. Also, I tried finding the VOD of Rage saying that Bayo is toxic, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I couldn't even find any tweets where he may have said that, so your claim here doesn't really hold any weight. If you showed the VOD here in this video yourself, then it would be a lot easier to believe you. But for the sake of argument, let's assume Rage did say this. It would still be hard for me to give credit to your statement here, because Rage is just one Bayo main, not all Bayo mains. How do you know there aren't any other decent Bayo players who would say otherwise? Not to mention, I already disproved your claim that you can't interact with Bayo earlier, and that's not even accounting for other characters that would have better tools against Bayo for different situations.
Like, I'm sorry, but I don't see how it's wrong for people to hate fighting Lulumek and King K. Rool, but like fighting Wolf and Fox in Ultimate. I think that's honestly what basically every single top competitor likes. I've never heard someone say, I like fighting Lulumek, that is actually good at the game. Legitimately, not a single decent player. Either they like fighting everyone, which is, you know, like basically down to Maru, and Maru also thinks Kirby is not cute, and he thinks Fate Zero is boring, and he thought Smash 4 was a good game.
Okay, as someone who has always loathed fighting Little Mac since Smash 4, just because you never heard someone say they like fighting a good Little Mac does not mean it's never been said. Once again, you gotta stop speaking for everyone when you obviously do not. Also, seriously? You're using one person's other opinions to discredit their position? Real mature, Leffen. What if that person did think that Kirby was cute, Fate Zero wasn't boring, and that Smash 4 wasn't good as well as enjoy fighting everyone in Ultimate? Would you then say it's valid? Or would you just find someone else with bad takes that don't even have anything to do with your discussion here to give weight to your statements? Knowing you, I'd honestly expect the latter.
But yeah, I would say that, you know, liking to fight random characters, it's just not like a mentality that generally goes well.
Liking to fight random characters isn't a mentality that goes well? What do you even mean by this? How the heck does that work? Do you want competitive to be fun or not?
And I said, it's why people love MVC2, Melee, Third Strike, KR13. Even if a game is technically balanced, at top level, there will always be characters that are more popular than others. Problem with Ultimate is that gimmicks are the strongest and most toxic option. What I mean by this is that, you know, if the best characters of Melee were Ice Climbers and Puff, the Smash community as we know it would not even exist, because it all got big because Fox and Falco were fun top tiers that were fun to fight with basically every character.
I don't entirely disagree that the Smash community wouldn't exist if Ice Climbers and Puff were the best in Melee, but to compare their gimmicks to the character gimmicks in Ultimate is laughable. Wobbling, for example, was inescapable if you got caught by it and meant the end of your stock. With gimmicks as strong as Min Min's long arms, or as mild as Sephiroth's wing, they are way more tame and beatable by comparison. Heck, just look at the EVO Grand Finals for Ultimate. Even though Leo did win the tournament, his matches against Tweak were mostly very close despite Arsene being the stronger gimmick. So yeah, I think Ultimate will be just fine, gimmicks and all.
And someone said, if someone would quit Ultimate because of a few boring characters. Wait, actually, let me just go to Ultimate Frame Data. All right, toxic. And so yeah, you know, we had like 5 characters I didn't absolutely hate. So yeah, you know, there's just a few boring characters. And you know, I know there's some people in chat like, how can you hate so many characters? You're just exaggerating, dude. I was literally on the train back, and people were like, you know, it was just Ultimate sitting in front of us. And they were like, yeah, dude, your character's toxic. Like, no, your character's toxic. You play Ness. I'm like, well, you play Joker. I'm like, and then they just started going like, what character isn't toxic then? And they both like, they fell silent again.
Dude, who cares if 2 of your friends said anything like that? They're just 2 people out of millions of Smash players, each who have different likes and dislikes in terms of matchups. This doesn't prove anything. Also, yes, you are exaggerating, and you've been doing so this entire video. And as I said, you have a very hateful and strong bias against the game already, so why should I even care if you hate 99% of the roster? You should have quit the game a long time ago for your own sake.
I don't think a fighting game should have too many characters. Having too many characters just makes for a worse competitive meta. When you have gone through these playstyles, none of these characters play the same. None of them.
Gee, it's almost as if they have players with different skill levels and different ways to play them. But that's not true. Every Fox and Falco spam Shine, every Marth chain grabs, every Puff camps in the air, and every Icy's wobble. I'm totally not being ignorant and biased here.
If you start to go Mario, yes, but from C tier and up, these are all pretty much unique playstyles. And if you come in here and say more characters are better because more is better, then you're just a scrub that doesn't understand.
Leffen, is it really that hard for once in your life to not insult your audience? You can tell people why they're wrong without doing so, you know? When you do this, not only do you make people feel bad about themselves for thinking differently, but you also begin to lose your credibility and make people not want to listen to you anymore. Personally, when I watched this video way back then, I came in wanting to at least hear you out, but instead, I see crap like this moment. I came away from this video baffled and angry, and I never watched a single one of your videos or your streams ever again until now. Seriously, this video is so hard to sit through because of your attitude.
Character variety is not as important as gameplay variety. It doesn't matter if Corin looks different from, Ike or Chrom or Cloud when they all functionally play the same and are played against mostly the same.
Huh? Cloud, Chrom, Corin, and Ike play functionally the same? I'm sorry, how did this video get so many likes? You sound like a complete noob that only played quick play against each character once. Even then, a complete noob would know that they don't play functionally the same. You're telling me Cloud and Corin both up B out of shield often, or Chrom and Ike go Nara up air? Not only have you been ignoring players' personal ways to play these characters, you now ignore how these characters actually function. Even if you're arguing that because they are the same archetype of fighter they play the same, you know what other game has the exact same thing? Melee. Fox and Falco, Marth and Roy, Mario and Dr. Mario, Link and Young Link, Falcon and Ganon, Pichu and Pikachu. Yes, they are purposefully meant to be clones of each other, unlike the characters Leffen brought up, but Leffen argued earlier that not a single one of those characters plays the same, including clones. Somehow, the literal clones in Melee don't play like each other, yet some of the characters with different mechanics and confirms in Ultimate do. My gosh, I'm only halfway through this video and the mental gymnastics here are still making me dizzy.
It doesn't matter if DK and Ganondorf and Incineroar are different character models, because no one on competitive level likes playing them anyway.
Stop speaking for everyone.
On the train ride home, we had a Switch setup, and we played on the bus, right? And I tried playing Chrom, and Pepito tried playing Wolf, because I didn't want to play my mains, right? And I played those characters, and I played them in a best of 3, and I'm like, so this is what Mr. R does every day, huh? Jab, jab, jab. And then I pick Roy, and I'm like, this is the same character.
Yeah, they're the same character, because they're meant to be. Ever heard of Echo Fighters?
And then I look at other sword characters, I'm like, Lucina is floating, and it's still also just a basic sword character. Wolf is also basically a sword character.
Okay, Lucina, yes, she is almost the same as Roy, because she is also meant to be. Her, Chrom, and Roy are meant to be based off of Marth. Wolf, though? Dude, he is way more like Fox than a sword character, and he still plays differently than him. So I have no idea how you even think that he's like a sword character. What, is it because of his aerials? So what? Every character has an attack similar to those with different animations. So by that logic, everyone is a sword character.
And I move my hand back to Joker because that's the only entertaining sword character in Ultimate.
Oh, apparently everyone is a sword character. Honestly, not surprised.
Again, character variety does not matter. Gameplay variety matters. There's legitimately more different playstyles of Fox than there is playstyles in Ultimate.
I don't believe you. Firstly, you incorrectly said that certain characters play like each other when they obviously do not. Secondly, I strongly doubt that in all of Melee's lifespan, there have somehow been no playstyles of Fox somewhat similar to each other, let alone more than all the playstyles of over 80 characters in Ultimate. This point is an obvious exaggeration, and it comes across only as a means to boost Melee higher than it needs to be, and Ultimate lower than it needs to be. Typical.
That said, I don't really see, this is a semantics problem, but I don't see Beos, spamming her specials as a playstyle. I see that as, character gimmicks, because all Beo players play the same, basically.
No, they do not. Yes, there are common playstyles, but that does not mean they all play the same. I already debunked your generalization with my Zelda example.
And all Bowser players play the same? Bowser doesn't really play that much different from Ganondorf or even Chrom.
Sure, Leffen. I'll take your word for it.
the core gameplay is actually very similar for a lot of characters. Like, yeah, there's some different things. Like, yeah, Bowser's Flame Breath, and Ganondorf has side B. Oh wait, he also has a grab side B. And you know, Bowser's up B is a little bit, you know, 4 frames faster than Chrome's, and his breaks shield. Oh wait, he also has command grab. Oh no. You know, and he has a downer spike, and he has a downer spike, and he has a downer spike. And they both have a forward swinging fair, and the back sword killing back air, and upwards up. Oh wait, you know, basically, yeah, basically the same. Both have a combo throw at low percent only. His is up throw, but these guys are down throw. Very impressive character variety here. In Incineroar, he also has a side B grab and a down throw combo and forward hitting fair and backwards hitting back air.
How does this video have so many likes? I thought your 2-player game argument was bad, and I thought the previous version of this argument was bad. But no, this is easily the worst argument you have made in this entire video. Seriously, Leffen, have you never played Smash before? Just because some characters have similar moves at their core does not mean they play the same. If this is a flaw of Ultimate, then this is a flaw of every Smash game, including Melee. I mean, going by your logic, Fox and Falco both have the same Nair and back air, both Peach and Sheik have the same forward air, both Marth and Falcon have the same down air, and so on. This point is beyond absurd. My gosh, I need some water.
Problem is, you're arguing about competitiveness in a game that is clearly for casuals. Sure, on your level, all these characters don't matter, but most people love the choice of skin. You think you're coming in here with sage advice? Like I don't know this? Like, do you think that I don't know that Smash is meant for casuals? We're arguing for how good the game is as a competitive game. Does that make it a flawed argument? It doesn't matter. Just because something is made for casuals does not mean I can't critique it as something else.
Yes, you can critique Smash games as competitive games since they are often played competitively despite intentionally being for casual players. But as you've demonstrated in this video, your criticisms of Ultimate are either flawed as arguments or are just so absolutely ridiculous, any Smash player with common sense can easily debunk them.
But yeah, again, like, if someone would quit Ultimate because of a few boring characters, and again, it's not few, then they didn't really like it in the first place. I just don't agree that's true. Like, I really don't agree that's true. You can like most of Ultimate. Like, even if you're like one of these guys that think all these characters are cool, what's to say you don't hate playing as Bayo and a hero? You know, or hate playing against Game & Watch, right?
I'm sorry, I thought liking to fight a bunch of random characters was a bad thing. Also, yes, Gimmer is correct in saying that someone quitting Ultimate simply because of a few bad characters means that they didn't like the game in the first place. If someone quit Ultimate because they didn't like any of the characters, how the game generally plays, or because they don't have the time for it, that would be understandable. But a small fraction of characters being annoying to deal with? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't care that much for the game in the first place. By the way, I was looking up this tweet that Leffen is showing on screen right now, and I found this little gem. I'm quitting and taking a competitive break from Ultimate because of all these toxic matchups, and I don't quit Melee because of crouch cancel down smash. You can absolutely hate some of the matchups in Ultimate, but like some others considering they don't play similar at all. So which is it, Leffen? Do all the characters in Ultimate basically function the same, or do they not at all? Pick one.
But KroCal, Leffen made this tweet before he made this video.
Yeah, maybe he changed his mind. Oh really?
There's nothing wrong with liking fighting Meta Knight and Mega Man and not liking to fight Olimar. Nothing wrong at all. Because in this game, characters don't really play that similarly.
Yes, you heard that correctly. Despite arguing that the character variety in Ultimate is bad because the characters somehow all play functionally the same, Leffen now argues that there is nothing wrong with liking some matchups or disliking others because no one in Ultimate plays that similarly. You know, for someone who had been campaigning for Ultimate to be seen as the worst game ever, you sure are inconsistent.
And many times, the only options that your character has against someone else's gimmicks or specials is camping.
Not true. Quit generalizing. Can we please get this video over with?
Matchup knowledge like such interaction knowledge is not the core basis of most fighting games. What other fighting games are big? Like, yeah, you know, there's some matchup knowledge in Tekken, but it's not really the main thing that people enjoy about Tekken. You can see people play a lot of characters in Tekken, and like, yeah, there's some matchup knowledge, there's some testing, but like what people like in Tekken is just, you know, the movement, the high plays, the mastery of characters. There's a lot of hyper optimization in Tekken. And the core difference is that you can have a game with a lot of matchups, but the problem is that when Ultimate, the base mechanics are so simple, unlike Tekken. There's not that much that is so impressive once you've seen it a couple times, because every Bayo player can do the same combo. Every Youngling player can do down tilt to up B. But the first time, sure, it's fine, you know?
I understand Ultimate has the simplest gameplay out of all the Smash games, but a bunch of people maining the same character and being able to perform the same confirms and whatnot is not a bad thing. Plus, just because most of them are able to perform the same basic things does not mean they are going to find equal success, let alone be the absolute best with their characters. In my case, I may do something similar to Proto Banham or to Buzz in terms of playing Min, but I am far from being even nearly as successful as they are, simply because my gameplay is objectively worse than both of them. I sometimes lack control, I mess up my timings, I don't perform my confirms correctly, etc. Also, people like high-level Smash Ultimate because of the pro's mastery of the characters and the overall game, just like Tekken.
And the thing is, when you say that other esports are bigger with casuals, you gotta realize that's just not true, man. Like, the other esports are bigger because they have a bigger player base. There are, of course, variations of each game, but most of the big esports games are not made out of matchup cheese. That's not why people like them. Like, MOBAs are that because they're designed to be like that, but most fighting games are not like that whatsoever.
Yeah, I get that there is matchup cheese in Ultimate, but honestly that term is so vague, anything in any game, including MOBAs, can be seen as cheese. Plus, you sound like you're saying people only like Ultimate simply because of the character variety. While it is something some people appreciate about the game, people can also enjoy the game because they simply think the gameplay is that fun, cheese and all. Heck, I certainly do, and I know I am not the only one. We finally reached the end of the video. What can I say? This video began as somewhat reasonable, albeit disagreeable, but it was overall so dishonest, poorly argued, and sometimes just straight up disrespectful. It honestly still boggles my mind that this has a relatively decent like to dislike ratio. Again, Leffen, I don't take issue with the fact that you dislike the game, or even the fact that you dislike 99% of the roster. My issue with this video is how you generalize, exaggerate, and overall misrepresent the game to try and justify why you think the game is bad. Not to mention that I hate that you antagonize people who hold different positions than you just to try and prove you're in the right. You have a very clear and very hateful agenda towards the game, so I'm gonna ask you a common question you received multiple times during your Ultimate career. If you hate the game that much, why didn't you quit much sooner? At least Mango and other Melee players moved on after they decided they didn't care for Ultimate that much, while being respectful to the people who did. Heck, there are even people who think Ultimate is overall mid and have explained why they thought so more reasonably and respectfully, so I would rather listen to what they have to say even if I end up disagreeing with them. This video was a perfect example on how not to argue on the internet, as if your arguing on Twitter wasn't bad enough. So frankly, I'm glad you're not playing Ultimate anymore, so that you can enjoy other games way more, and we don't have to listen to your complaining that no one even asked for. Finally got all of that off my chest. I'm gonna go drink some water.